Hi, my name is Sir Lucero, Master Sommelier and Vice President of Wine here at Wine Access, and I've been asked to put together a quick demonstration for you of how to prepare a nice Thanksgiving side dish. And my idea of side dish is the humble brisket being braised in red wine and tomato. The idea here is you don't want to create a really grand piece of meat like a prime rib roast that's going to overshadow the Thanksgiving turkey, which should be at the centerpiece. What we're going to do here is just create some red beef for all of your cousins and all your uncles that almost demand red meat at the dinner table to go with their Cabernet and their Syrahs and all the other beautiful wines that we sell you here at Wine Access, and just do it in 4 simple steps. Now what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and score the top fat portion of the beef. I like to do this. I don't know anybody else who likes to do this on a brisket, but it just really lends itself to allowing the kind of herbs and the spices to kind of really get in there and really kind of braise nicely and allow the fat to kind of channel off as it braises, okay? I'm making a very simple dry rub. What I got here is mostly salt, got some paprika, some garlic powder, a tiny bit of cumin, and some black pepper. I'm not trying to make this taste like barbecue. I just need to get some seasoning into the crust of the meat before it begins to braise. So when it's really gonna develop a little bit of a flavor and a little bit of a crust around the side of the brisket. It'd be really beautiful. And just a touch here of demerara sugar, or if you need to use brown sugar, use about half this amount. There are no recipes. I never follow a recipe. So I apologize ahead of time. The last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grate a little bit of fresh nutmeg just because it's the season, and I think that flavor is gonna go really nicely over the meat. Scoring the meat now, real briefly, just right over the top, just on the fat cap, not breaking through the meat itself, just the fat, just to allow some channels for the fat to render off. Taking the dry rub mixture here, mixing it together, and just literally patting it right in there. Really rub it in, kind of get it in there. The slight amount of sugar, the reason why I put it in here, because it really actually will help caramelize and create that crust that we're looking for. And this is a beautiful 5-dot brisket here, which I got from 5-Dot Ranch here in the Oxbow Center here in Napa, and I'm pretty excited to enjoy this. Let's go sear this off. What I have in the pan here is about a half a stick of butter over medium heat. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna brown the butter just a little bit. Don't use oil here. You know, butter comes from cream, which comes from cows. We're trying to caramelize and bring out a really delicious golden flavor within the brisket here. So go ahead and use butter. Now, we're gonna get this kind of close to being brown, all the way melted for sure. And then we're just gonna go ahead and gently put it into the pan and allow this to brown on both sides. Okay, so now we have the spices, the salt, a little bit of sugar, and we're just gonna go ahead and drop in the onions real fast just to brown up a little bit. And then we're gonna add in a 28-ounce can of organic San Marzano tomatoes here, which if you can get this quality, that's gonna be really, really great. But we're gonna let this brown first just a little bit, and we're gonna create the braising liquid with this and a little bit of red wine. All right, so we have some really good, decent color here on these onions. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is add just a tiny bit of Worcestershire, just because I think it works so good with this preparation. That might have been, at max, maybe like 1/8 to 1/4 of a cup. A splash of sherry vinegar here. Not much at all, maybe 1/8 of a cup, like 3 tablespoons. Kind of get this going around. Oh man, it's really, really fragrant. And it smells great. So these beautiful San Marzano organic DOP potatoes, tomatoes, get those right in there. This is gonna be the braising liquid. This is what's going to braise down and create that sauce for us right at the end. And then last, but for sure not least, I've got a pretty rich bottle here of red wine. think this one's Cabernet, but you know, whatever you have on hand, decent quality. Don't put all the quality into this pan and then throw away your sauce with a really crappy bottle of red wine. So let's get this in there and let this simmer down for about 15 minutes. 15, 20 minutes just to come together. And then that's gonna be our braising liquid. So at this point, what I wanna do is I wanna take some really good quality organic tomato paste and just go ahead and squeeze it right over the top, because this is going to give it really great color. It's also going to give a lot of depth to the sauce that's going to be created as this particular brisket roasts or kind of braises, if you will, in the oven. So at this point, I just added some really high quality tomato paste, some organic tomato paste. And what I'm going to do is rub this right into the top of the meat, and it's going to add a lot of richness and a lot of great color as it braises in the oven. And it's going to really give a beautiful, beautiful crust, if you will, and to the finished product, as well as adding to the sauce that develops over the hours upon hours that this brisket is going to rest in the oven. Okay, this has been simmering for 15 minutes. It kind of, you can see it really kind of came together. It looks beautiful. I'm just going to drop it right into our braising dish, and I'm going to put the brisket right on top. Barely fits. Cover it tightly in aluminum foil, braise it off. This is very, very important. 250 degrees for every pound of brisket. This is a 5-pound brisket. This is gonna go in for 5 hours, 250 degrees. Get a really good feel on this. Super important. I'm using 2 pieces of aluminum foil to make this happen. And I'm going to put it right into the oven, and I'm going to go to bed. And I will be waking up in the morning to my alarm clock, and I'll be letting this just rest and cool just by itself. So right now we're on hour 1 of letting our brisket braise, and I have it at 250 degrees per pound per hour. I have no problem if you want to go a little bit lower in terms of temperature on this, but for sure make sure you don't go any higher. Nice and slow. And usually what I'm doing, because I'm starving at this point, I'm hungry, I usually go ahead and take some of the braising liquid, some of my favorite crusty bread here, Della Fattoria out of Petaluma, and I have a little snack beforehand. Ooh, that might be too hot for my palate.